I think I knew I wanted to be a writer when I was 8. I was writing stories on tablet paper, drawing a cover, stapling them to make little booklets out of them, and peddling them to relatives for a nickel. Um, and then I went away to high school, and I went away to college. And uh, when I was in college, in a senior year, I wrote a story that a professor sent to an Atlantic Monthly competition for college writing, and it won a prize. And I turned around and was able to sell the story for $50, which was a lot more money then than now, and a great deal of money to me. And I thought, maybe you could make a living doing this. I wasn't sure, and for a long while I didn't, but ultimately it did happen. So I think it was, and my influences were, at that point, Ray Bradbury, Robert Heinlein. I was a theater sturgeon. I was very big into science fiction then. But around the time that I got out of college and really started, first I was a teacher and then started writing, I started being influenced by Dickens, John D. MacDonald. I started broadening my reading considerably then. So there were a lot of influences. I often say there's probably 100 writers influenced my own style. How do I start a book? I never start with a plot. I never start with an outline. I start with a premise, just a little idea of something that will propel reader interest. And then my second thought is, what will this book be about aside from that plot device, from that little premise? What themes naturally arise from that will give the book more substance? Then it's what character or two would we want to follow through this story? Then I just start to write. I never know where it's going. If the characters really come alive in the first 3 or 4 chapters, then I've got something. If they don't, I throw it away. It has to be, character is the heart of it all. And the characters will, as they grow and change, will lead the story to places I never would have imagined. I listened to all kinds of music. There was a big period where everything I listened to was big band. Then it was piano with symphony attached, Arthur Rubinstein, a lot of Mozart, that sort of thing. Then there was a period where it was nothing but Paul Simon. I can sing almost all Paul Simon songs, beginning to end, as if I wrote them. It's funny, music is important, but you stick with one kind sometimes for 6, 7 books. And then suddenly one day, that's not the kind you want to be listening to. So I think it affects the prose in ways you don't even realize, but subconsciously, you know when you need something else. Well, I wouldn't have called it Star Quest. I would have called it Star Trek, and I'd have been much more successful. It was a little science fiction novel, paperback original, and I was writing science fiction for years because it's what I grew up reading. And one day I realized I wasn't that good at it, that there were other forms I was more suited to write. And that's when I gave up straight science fiction novels and started writing. Well, the first thing I wrote was a suspense novel, and the second thing was a comic novel. And that, I think, was the start of where I started combining everything. Well, when I first started combining genres, and some critics have said I created the cross-genre novel. I'm not sure about that, but it was because I read all genres, including literary fiction, which is just another genre. And when you read all that kind of thing, you want to write all that kind of thing. And as a consequence, I just started pulling them together. It's now very difficult for me, almost impossible to say, write a straight thriller or write a straight supernatural novel or write a straight comic novel. They're all going to be twined up together in the course of what I write. I took a lot of heat from publishers when I first started doing this. I was told you could not have comedy in a thriller because that will alienate the thriller reader. They will not stay in the mood. Well, I felt that if you could laugh with the characters, they were more real and more like real people, and then you were more concerned about what might happen to them. And character, as I said, it's the heart of fiction, so you want them well-rounded. And the only genre I've never written in, I would say, is a Western. And maybe someday I'll get the Western idea. I'll put on my Louis L'Amour hat and give it a try.